Do any of you know of this problem where you start making syntax errors within your speech, even though rarely happened before, you're starting to get it more now? I think maybe part of it is unconfidence because I've been out of my comfort zone with my videos recently. I felt less strength towards what I'm doing, and I suppose part of that is living in a new place. Part of that is moving around so much unsureness in my life, so much instability. But when I speak, as of late, it's felt not like myself. It's felt like I've just regressed in some way. And maybe the regression is from not recording enough, because my goal was to always record once a day and to really practice all of the different methods by which I project my voice. And I haven't really been doing that because I've just been so busy and I've had so few topics to draw from. Haven't really been able to live stream either, which is the way that I usually practice the whole talking thing, so I don't really know. I don't know why I'm making so many syntax errors recently where like I'll use a word where I meant to use another one. I'll, end up messing up the flow of the sentence, the structure of the sentence by leaving certain words out. I've always done this, but I got away from it. Like in my videos, I had less pauses, less ums, less filler words, less words being used in the wrong way, less gaps where I have to think about things. So much so that I would make these really great sentences just on the fly sometimes. Nowadays, I have to try harder because I've just been out of body, out of my element, and I don't know what the fuck that's about. In the front yard, sleeping with no clothes on. I don't know the lyrics to that song, despite the fact that I've listened to it so many times by this point. I've just been in this bed. Just this bed right here. I've been using it for basically everything. Haven't left this room. I move slightly over here to sit down and Wi-Fi tether my phone to that computer because it doesn't have a way to access Wi-Fi. So I have to directly plug my phone into it to make the damn thing work. And I sit over here and lay down and basically use my phone for everything else. I go to sleep, and then I repeat the same thing again. There's not really much going on here, but I can't say as though I've been unhappy. It's kind of the same thing, But life's always been like this for me, except when I used to go in voice calls more frequently, though for the last, I want to say, few months, I haven't really done it as much as I used to. And at this point, withdrawing from them completely So it kind of goes back to, I don't know what year it was. 2017? Yeah, it was 2017. The summer of that year, I would just kind of lay down in my room in my mom's house in Tennessee, and I would watch YouTube videos. I would go into voice calls in the Chromasticator sometimes, but I didn't really do that as much at that time. I went into a Skype call with Weeb Trash Productions like every few days to record a podcast or something, but other than that, it was just kind of wake up, watch YouTube, try to figure out how to make YouTube, feel hopeless about the fact that you're not making good YouTube, rinse, repeat, months of my life done through that idea. And you go to 2016, it's an even more extreme version of that, because in 2016, for almost an entire year, I just spent in my room watching YouTube videos, not really doing anything else. Sometimes making a video, but I struggled most of the time because I was wrought with the guilt of making so many bad videos that I just kind of hated my work for that, and it was rare that I really had fun with it. So we're kind of back to that existence where, like, I don't really go into voice calls that often anymore. And even more so, I just lay on this bed. That's what I did at my mom's house back then. I would just lay on my bed, watch videos. See, at least when I got other places, I had a chair or something. Like, no, here I just lay on the bed. Like, that computer setup is the most makeshift thing you're ever gonna see. The entire world. And I got no chair. But that's what I operate with, you know. This is what I operate with for now. There's a mistake that I've made since adolescence that I haven't really known how to rectify. I feel like it's just something that's intrinsic within my personality, with how I function, where no matter how much I love a certain person, I become chronically bored of them, and through that boredom, I end up having to withdraw and isolate myself to keep myself from saying some fucked up shit, or just from doing something that's weird and stupid and messes everything up. And so I've always wanted close relationships, but I've never really been one for them in practice, because whenever I have one, I always end up messing something up and then manipulating the situation to fix it. And not all of these errors are out of boredom or out of malice through boredom, but a lot of the time they are. A lot of the time I get bored of people just for no reason, and the boredom feels so intense that I will just say terrible things and ruin friendships and just troll people. And I don't like that I do that, because simultaneously while having that issue of just kind of running through people like a match of cards, I also have the issue of abandonment, where I become so attached to one person that when I feel that I'm going to be abandoned, when abandonment is possibly on the horizon, I freak out and I get really upset and I try to do everything I can to manipulate the situation to keep that perceived abandonment from happening. And through this, I also sometimes end up embarrassing myself or making things worse. Now, over the years, I've gotten smarter, so I kind of know how to manipulate the situation, but the fact is that this way of viewing relationships and humanity is unstable and antisocial. And I don't know where it comes from. I have some theories. I think some of it has to do with the fact that, I was called boring a lot as a kid. And I mean, that's no shame on my parents or anything like that. I don't blame them for it. I think a lot of it just came out of frustration from their own marriage, that like sometimes that frustration would be taken out on me, and like I would be called boring for, as a little kid, basically no reason. Um, when you're a little kid, everything you say is boring. So it's like, well, if you didn't want that boredom, then you shouldn't have gotten a child. But like, I think maybe from a young age, that influence on me, you know, might have developed a sense of boredom in me, or maybe it made it to where I was just generally speaking more antisocial and, um, more self deprecating. I know self deprecating was one for a long time, but I know things like that when I was younger definitely played an effect. Watching my mother be extremely possessive of us and then turn around to abuse us when we were young, that, that was a thing that probably brought up this behavior, because she would, on the one hand, not want us to leave, and so she would smother us so much with trying to overprotect us and trying to keep us from doing the things normal kids do, because she didn't want to be abandoned herself. And when she would do that, she would at the same time abuse us. She'd pull my hair out, she'd hit me with shoes and things like that. Um, do really terrible things to me when I was younger. And um, whenever that would happen, I would just be so confused about what was happening, and so I would retaliate with anger. And as a result of the anger that was levied upon me in the home, it ended up creating that emotion more within myself, and it became kind of a normal thing. You become what you watch, you become what you influence. And in the case of my parents, through no fault of their own, I'm not blaming them for this, they were dealing with a lot in their marriage. And so I would watch that. I would watch those arguments. I would watch that yelling. I would watch the anger that was thrown at me that wasn't really about me. It was about their relationship. And then I would learn from that, and then I would do those things. There's the thing about kids, is that they don't really do what they're told. They do what they see. And I think maybe the wires in my own head were just crossed because of that, because I was witnessing them do these things, that my own view of relationships and socialization was shaped by that. And later on, I began to notice these problems really take hold, where in friendships, as I said, for some reason I would just get desperate and lonely, and then I would send these really desperate messages to people, and then end friendships that way. Or I would get super bored of a person and then destroy a friendship in a really loud and big, flaming hot way. And once the nuclear bomb went off, I would be sitting there in the ashes filled with regret, wanting the person to come back. And then I would come crawling back to that person and begging for forgiveness and trying to manipulate the situation into me being a good guy, even though ostensibly what I just did was terrible. And I did that for years. Like I can recall moments even recently where I've still done that. So like how do I break out of that cycle when it's so ingrained into my psyche? I don't really know. I've gotten somewhat better over time. Like there've been like a good 5 or 6 months where I would do that, but I would only do it in very small ways that were only, you know, a bit of a problem. They weren't a huge problem. They weren't like friendship destroying things. I would just kind of get bored and then fuck with people. But over time, that behavior relapsed and I started getting really bad again. And it made me feel really hopeless because I thought I had bested the behavior, but as it does with many people with a long term problem in their own internal wiring, it relapses, it comes back. And that can be really discouraging. Um, and so for years of my life, I have not known how to deal with this problem other than by isolating, by closing off the world, by closing off friendships, and just being by myself. Because you can't hurt anyone when you're by yourself, and you certainly can't be hurt by anyone by yourself. It's like I desire nothing but close relationships to the point where I fear the abandonment so strongly that it kills me inside, while simultaneously being so avoidant of close relationships that I'd rather just be completely alone. The dichotomy here doesn't really add up, does it? These two elements aren't supposed to be together, but they are. And I believe that's a product of a very tumultuous and unstable past that I didn't really have any choice in. So I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't know, man. It's hard. It's very, very hard trying to break your own internal wiring, and then you get those moments, especially as a depressed person, you get those moments where you're wondering why you're even doing it in the first place. Because everyone's gonna die anyway. I'm gonna die. Why? Why do any of it?